Hello, this is Craig and Hilary, and we're moderately sane.
We think we are. We like to be. I'm wearing my t-shirt, so everyone is forewarned. I don't know if this is backwards. You won't like my opinion. So consider yourself forewarned.
Right.
Okay, we have a lot of subjects to get to today, I think. Uh, Forewarning, we're going to get into Midler's on the Roof segment. So we are going to be talking about Jewish issues. Um, so just so you know. And first of all, let's talk about, before we get to that, let's talk about furries.
Well, specifically, what about all the killings that have been committed by people, I guess, who identify as furries?
Yeah, and I don't like this in a way because I do not want to disparage the
No,
entire furry community who are very peaceful and I'm sure wonderful people. So I don't want to do paint with a big cartoon brush.
neither do I.
However, it is very, I mean, there's been quite a few furry murderers of late.
Right, right. And I feel bad because I just think about that poor person that wants to dress like Winnie the Pooh, and everyone thinks he's freaking Charles Manson.
I mean, we could go over the incidences of it, but you can look it up yourself. There's just been like a few. I know. And now I don't want to feel this way, but I see someone dressed up in a raccoon costume and I go running. It's
Exactly.
not fair.
Right, right, right.
I mean, I don't know what this is. Are they feeling like, do they think this is, if they pick up a gun, do they think you're in a cartoon? Is it like Wile E. Coyote and then they're just going to, Roadrunner's just going to run away? I mean, it's just a perplexing thing. And I'm not making any conclusions. Don't want to, you know,
I
insult an entire people who just enjoy furry outfits and other things that go along with it,
right,
which,
right,
hard for me to get my head around, but like try to be accepting. Here comes Whitney. I talked about Tote Bag Whitney, the liberal woman in me,
right,
and
right.
Wanda, the other woman in me who hates her. But here comes Whitney. I don't want to disparage the whole community.
Elmer Fudd is in me. He's very afraid of these furries. Sees them as a threat. They're wascally.
This was okay. Oh my God, it's a little weird. Okay, let's get into furries. That's our do with our intro, of course, like everyone does. Let's get into furries. All right. The other thing we wanted to talk about, okay, a lot is happening in Iran. And Iran, I mean, I would encourage people to go look at photos of women before 1979 revolution and after, and how progressive modern they were to today, and the oppression they have gone through for the last 47 years of young women getting killed for being raped, for beaten, raped, for showing their hair, and then when they protest, 30,000 people die. Iran, I mean, it's a serious thing. And so what did you come across, as this war has started, where we're trying to eliminate their ballistic missiles and nuclear program, which for me, that's a frightening prospect. But what did you come across? You came across something very interesting on social media of those, because they're protests. What we're seeing a lot is a lot of Persians, Iranians, who are celebrating like the hope. I know it's going to be really hard, but the hope of the end of this regime.
Well, and I want to, before I get into that completely, because it's definitely important. I'm not sure we're going to do this right. We've done most everything wrong, and I completely want to endorse and echo what Hilary said, which is really this is a hope. but at the same time also acknowledge that there are many Persians around the world who are, who are cheering this, And I was watching a bunch of demonstrations in Dublin, and somehow or other, these Irish people thought they could go up to these Persian people, get in their faces, and tell them what for. It's like, and it was making me very angry.
You have to love that. You have to love like the white people telling Middle Eastern people who have family or lived under these regimes, telling them what's up, which is a big theme. This happens all the time. But tell us about the Irish people.
Right, right. You don't understand. You don't understand that you're really part of the Western oppressive system, and you don't get it. How could you be for this? You're selling out. You're
Because you're Iranian. I can't do this. Every time I do an accent, it turns into some Jamaican. You can't do this. It's you don't know what it's like to be Iranian, even though you're not Iranian. What accent is that? I don't even know.
I don't think that's an accent, but the new accent. It's a new neologism. Right. You're full
I
of
just
you're full of malarkey. It's really just Western Zionist imperialists. That's what you are. You don't understand the oppression of the Iranian people the way that I do. You can't. You can't. No, you can't. You can't. It was precious. Anyhow.
yeah, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about right now is that, all right, I give to some organizations. Now, I don't have a lot to give. I know, being a super powerful rich Jew, this is surprising, but I really don't. But I try to give to some organizations. I give, of course, I mean, look at me, to a lot of animal organizations. ASPCA, I think, the North Shore Animal League, Best Friends, Ollie's Place, where I got, I do, they come and you see the animals, you just do it. And this is minimal. I don't have much to give. And then lately, I've also given to some Jewish organizations, especially in the last couple of years. And yes, including Israel advocacy in the last couple of years as we've been going through what we've been going through, because very few people are doing that.
Not the least.
So these are primarily who I've given my little, $20 to.
$18.
18. I've doubled it to 36, feeling really when I feel really flush. And I would give more if I had, but anyhow. So I go and I open the mailbox and I see a solicitation. And what is it but Israel Guide Dog Center? I'm not sure if anyone listening is going to see that. Like basically Israel Center for the Blind. Dogs. Israel Dogs for the Blind, which I was pretty amazed with, where it's like, oh my God, they must have cross-referenced lists.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like that sophisticated. I think I gave my little $18 because I'm not that, but I'm just like, I am so impressed you got to me. I mean, this is like great targeting. And I just don't know what else is going to wind up in my mailbox, like Jewish Cats Unite. I mean, I didn't know that was an organization, but apparently I'm going to get solicitations from them.
How about the other one, the Animal Bomb Shelter?
Bomb Shelter Tel Aviv. I'm like, oh my God, they got to me. Or it could become really, really targeted, like, pro-gay, pro-kitten Judaica. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. They were like pro-choice cats of Haifa. I'm like, oh, like, oh, this is getting very targeted. And they get so excited because they found me. They're
Right,
like, we found the one. Get an envelope.
right, right.
So I'm very impressed by their. I mean, maybe we have a lot of information out there. Maybe you don't want everyone to have it. My reaction is I'm a little impressed.
Very impressive.
And now
Go.
here we go. I'm taking a deep breath
Yeah.
because we have wanted to talk about our feelings and our perspective and our thoughts about being Jewish in the last couple of years, especially
Yeah.
post 10/7.
Right.
And yeah, it's a lot. It's just, I am like kind of forever changed. I really am changed. Like, one thing I have to say is that I got, like a lot of people who were seeped in, I don't even know if we could call it liberalism, because liberal left are kind of very divorced right now, which is
Right.
something else we'll get
I'm
into.
going to get into that, but I think liberalism is something that you and I were both seeped in. We'll get into what that means. But we're kind of talking about, I don't know, to all you old folks out there like us, or I just say me. Hillary's forever young, but what Michael Dukakis was called, that kind of a liberal. Yeah, that's what I was seeped in.
Right. Well, yes, I was too. And that's, where I think Bill Maher talks about that a lot, the divorcing of what's now leftism from liberalism, which, human rights applied universally. And free speech, or despite other points of view, and not wanting to just
Free speech for
and I repeat some of these things, and I imagine someone trying to insult me will call me Bill Maher, and I'll be like, thank you so much. I don't nearly articulate this stuff as well as he does.
no.
However, I just want to, like, having been seeped, this has been the anti Israel sentiment began way before that.
Right.
Knowing this, because I was seeped in the left for so long, even though I've always been a Zionist, meaning I believe in Israel's right to be a Jewish state.
Exactly.
And I carried some shame about it, just because it was always in the air. It was a negative thing. All the lies, the apartheid, we could get into why that's a lie. Um, um, but there was a shamefulness in the air about this. And this has been for decades. This has been brewing and been part of the propaganda for decades. And even I swallowed. And part of also what changed me since 10/7 is, like, even the word Zionist, am I comfortable saying that? I don't have that at all now.
No,
I have, like, that is utter, I can't even believe I even felt that way, because I have such a strength of mind and definitiveness and certainty about why I have that as my major part of my identity, and what we're up against regarding anti-Zionism and what it's really um, about.
well, it's all right, and a lot of this does have to do with sort of a disaffection from the left, and even and again, that doesn't mean that I've given up on the liberal values, but I just think a lot of the liberal values are no longer the values of whatever this is, whatever the new thing is. But what we do notice, and this was something that was building up for a long time, is there was basically an ask if you wanted to be part of the left, if you were a Jew, and the ask was something that would never be demanded of any other group. And not only that, but if it were ever demanded of any other group, that demand would be castigated, would be stigmatized correctly as racist. And it's basically, yeah, just give up on Zionism. Just
Mm-hmm.
be a Zionist and you're cool. I'm a non-Zionist Jew. And then I'm supposedly at least welcome on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So
That is yes. Go ahead.
that was the ask. So
It is the ask.
it's not it was always the ask.
Mm-hmm.
10-7, it became more of a demand.
Yeah, yeah, right. It was now it's an utter demand.
It's a
And
demand.
if you were to be part of progressivism, you need to excise the Zionism in you, even though, and for me, it's what it feels like. It feels like when those for centuries, or in Spain during the Inquisition, like as long as you convert, you're fine. And this is a conversion ask, conversion demand.
Demand. It wasn't asked. Now it's a demand.
Now it's a demand. And this is not only where we're like the longest people who have been in Israel the longest by far, mm-hmm. in that area, that land. It is part of our history. All of our prayers talk about Jerusalem.
Moses, how about Moses?
Right. This is part of our heritage, and particularly even the criticalness of having that refuge post the actual genocide of the Holocaust. 9 million people died and 6 million Jews. That if we were there, we would certainly be slaughtered. And the nearly million people after that who had to leave, Middle Eastern and North African Jews who had to leave those countries for their safety and survival, which, something a lot of people don't know about, and half went to Israel, to the point that Israel is mostly not even people directly from Europe, who have background in the Middle East, but they were just never were in Europe at all.
And no, these are, well, let's just, make it super clear. Yeah. The Mizrahi and the Sephardim, these are people that never, ever were in Europe. They were always in the Middle East, and they were driven out. They were driven out after 48.
And they were driven out after 48. So this is, not only is it our homeland from our heritage, which and all of our prayers and point to as far as like the value of our history, but this is a place where we critically needed refuge to survive. And it's like, you could look at it through modern eyes. It's like, you all are fine in Boca. But like, whence it came from. And, as we see anti-Semitism rise more and more, and we can see the criticalness, we have that like in our bones. And it's so a part of me. It's, what the ask is from the left? This demand, what it feels like to me, and what I know it is.
What it is
excise your soul for this tribe. Take the soul of your mother and your father and your ancestors and just excise it out for us, because we've decided to scapegoat this as your human rights cause while ignoring everything else that is much worse as far as human rights issues. And the answer from me is hell no.
That is my answer as well.
My answer is hell no. And if I'm not part of this tribe where there's so much pressure to be in certain, where you live or whatever, I'll get along with you. We don't have to talk about it, but I know there's going to be a wall there. I feel
right,
so much more so than in the past, so strong about this, so certain about this, so so aware of what the demand is. And it's what's really sad to me is especially progressive Jews, there are too many who are either ignorant about what's going on, maybe they don't understand it,
Right.
what the demand is, or in denial.
Denial, maybe, yeah, almost.
Or they do, but what it reveals is that their progressivism is much more important to their identity than their Jewish identity. Because right now, I think for me, it's like, there's a lot of reasons I've never considered myself a progressive anyhow. Felt like I've been part of the spectrum of the left and been certainly part of the Democratic Party, volunteering. To be honest, I'm not doing it anymore. It doesn't mean I'm not volunteering for the Republican Party. But no, it's like, I am no way. I don't think they care about me. I think the Democrats are doing a calculation where they don't care about people like us. And because we're not, they care about the younger people and where they're going and where the activist groups are. The only way they care is because of the donors, those rich Jews, trope. And part of me feels like, thank God we have some rich Jews, or we'd be really screwed. Each party, we wouldn't even have influence anywhere. We're only hanging on by a thread. Those who care, who are Zionist Jews, which is essential to my Jewish identity, they would throw us totally asunder if not for, like, there's a little bit of worried about Jewish donors.
A little bit, although, again, the sad reality, and Hilary and I, this was like even before 10/7, just, out of kicks and giggles, looked up AIPAC about 5 years ago because we were convinced, because of everything that we kept hearing and everything that was in the news, that AIPAC must be giving out tons of money. And it turns out it was giving away less money than the American Dental Association. So maybe the real problem is that we aren't giving enough money. Damn cheap Jews.
God, you're buying off, America really cheaply.
I think at the time, I think it's gone up.
Well, we're really smart with my money.
$3 million. That's enough to buy up all of America. That's pretty much of a bargain, if you ask me.
And there are things like, you can criticize Israel. You have things you may not like of it, but it's such an out.
Oh, it's funny that you say that, though, because almost every time some asshole wants to say something anti-Semitic, they'll always preface it with, "You can't criticize Israel."
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's also a good one. You can't criticize the Jews. You can't criticize Israel. And that's all they do.
Yeah,
and then they act like they're going to be killed, and I'm scared to. And I got news for everyone. You are not scared of what you talk about incessantly.
Absolutely. We know the difference.
The truth is, you are very comfortable criticizing and talking about Israel, and you're very comfortable talking about Jewish influence and power because you are safe.
Nothing is going to happen to you.
That is the truth. That is the truth. And what you're really scared of is what you're not talking about. So let's talk about, wonder what that is.
Well,
you feel extraordinarily comfortable and extraordinarily safe, and that's why you can go off on Israel, and you cannot go off about the horror that is happening at the hands of jihadism, because that's what you're scared of talking about. Let's be honest, because you will get social recrimination. You will get, mostly because of that.
You'll get Salman Rushdie. You'd be running.
Right. And it's actually, and anyone who calls me, I can imagine, because I've always been scared to talk about this stuff, because I know it's going to be like, if anyone even hears this, I'll get this little clip and they'll be like, Hillary's Islamophobic, and not hear my full context of this. And you know who's because who is the biggest victims of radical jihadism? Muslim people.
Of course, by far. It's not
by
even
far, and way more than from Israel that also is attacked.
constantly.
This is all just for domination and actual ethnic cleansing for some, sects, and including, for non-Muslims. But this is, if you cared
Mm-hmm.
about Muslims, which you claim to do,
Mm-hmm.
you would talk about this. And I contend, even though, because I know the whole thing, that like the conspiracy of silence around there and the mechanisms through which that's done is to shame you as Islamophobic, which is really messed up. So, okay, in other words, if I stand up for the oppression of Muslim people, if it happens to be from radical elements of Islam, I'm an Islamophobic for standing up for Muslim people? No, no, I actually care more than you who are going to condemn me.
Right,
And that's the freaking truth.
right. And in the context of Judaism too, we just saw this incredible hijacking. Like we've never seen children be killed at this rate. Now, this is not to in any way minimize or denigrate actual human suffering, but these are claims about proportion, claims about numbers, as that are lies, and they're lies for a reason. In other words,
In the Israel
the
Hamas war.
Israel Hamas war, yeah, exactly. These lies about numbers, which have been grossly exaggerated and distorted, as Eisen and other studies have proven, which were focused on killing terrorists and did kill innocent children, and then
Horribly so.
horribly and terribly so, as opposed to the 20 million or so people dying from real starvation and famine in the Sudan, brought about by radical Muslim militias, the Janjaweed militia,
Right.
or the massacres of much greater scale, again in the region, the same region, by the Hutus, by the Houthis, sorry, the Houthis, as well as the Syrian massacres by Assad. These were far greater.
And this wasn't in countries that were attacked brutally with rape. These weren't. Even if you have criticism, well, I mean, Hamas, honestly, Hamas like does a technique. There was cynical, horrible technique where they don't let civilians leave. They hide behind them. You could say, okay, knowing that you shouldn't have done it. It was too high of a human cost, whatever. We can have all kinds of things, but really, this is a country, Israel, which is constantly attacked. These things aren't from being attacked.
So these are
This is just utter cruelty, domination, killing.
just killing, just slaughtering defenseless people because you want to destroy them and murder them.
Right. And we'll go with like I'm having conversations with people I know. It's like, well, that's because we give all this money to Israel, and that's why it's bad.
Oh, is that the principle? That's why you don't care about black and brown people? Oh, I didn't know that it was that easy, because I thought you did. But just in case it's only money, yeah, we give plenty of money to UNRWA that funds this too, just so you know.
In Iran, we gave billions to.
Billions and hundreds of billions if you factor in sanction relief. We basically enriched.
No, we support both sides of this, actually. We've supported Israel, but we support a lot of the ones who want to destroy it too.
And let's also be clear: if you care about victims, you care about victims. It's not just some obsession with American money. That's really just a red herring. You just don't give a damn. You don't give a damn about Sudanese that are being killed by Janjaweed.
Right, and slavery that's happening, and killing of black people.
Killing of black
Africans, and enslavement of them. And I know it's sort of because this is not reported.
Don't care about it.
They don't report it on the sources that they take in, because the narrative is very uncomfortable, and they do not like the narrative, and they like Israel being the horror of the world. And it's almost like, it reminds, because it's interesting, because it's like, Israel is like a scapegoat of the sins of the world,
Oh,
which the whole world is much more guilty of.
correct.
Which
Always.
is how Jews have been scapegoated forever, interestingly enough. I mean, it's so easy to get on that soft operating system.
It's well entrenched. We're the
Oh,
Jesus, we're the Jesus Christ of nations. But you know what? We're in the words of Kiki Friedman, they're not making Jews like Jesus anymore, and we're not going to be sacrificed for your sins. We're not. I'm not willing to be, and I
oh,
think
right. If you look around the world and it's Western countries that go and point their finger at Israel and the kinds of its way, where they actually did colonization.
absolutely.
And the Arab world, which is like been enormous colonizers, and the fact that we're in some sort of space where the Jews colonizers of the world in some great. Let's look at the Abrahamic religions.
Yes.
Christianity has what, about 2.2 billion people. It's like 32% of the world. Islam has 1.8 billion.
Growing. Yeah.
Growing rapidly, 28% of the world. Judaism has 15 to 16 million and is 0.2% of the world's population. Now, of those, what is the colonizer and what is not the colonizer?
Well, you're talking about numbers, honey. What about territory? I mean, isn't Israel gigantic?
Well, New Jersey is, it takes me a while to get through that state.
Yeah,
Actually, not that long.
I think Iran is about what 80 times larger.
Yeah, no, this is incredible. Look at a freaking map and look at what you're taking in from your TikTok feeds or even your NPR feeds or whatever. And under this, oh my God, the colonizers, where we colonized are where we came from and have been since BC.
Yeah.
The only colonizers in the history of the planet where you can dig up the land and get artifacts from your own civilization. What are you buying into?
Well, I mean, didn't that happen when when the Mayflower came over? They went to Plymouth Rock and they dug up some I don't know, some fossilized fish and chips. I don't know. No, I mean, no, I mean, and again, I mean, not only is it our ancient homeland, it's a small segment of our ancient homeland. Again, I'm not one of these. I don't think neither Hillary nor I are one of these people that say that we should have all the ancient territory. We just want a sliver of what we had.
It was partitioned
Right.
after in 1948, or I guess it was.
I mean, well, the initial Palestinian mandate included Jordan. It was a much bigger mandate. Then you had the Peel Commission, which was just a teeny weeny bit, and then they split off, Jordan, and then and again, every single time we got less and less. We're still going to be. Hillary and I are not greater Israel people. We just want just what we have, nothing more.
And I've always, of course, wanted peace, and I wanted, Palestinians to thrive.
You still do.
For sure. But there has been opportunity after opportunity for a state, and they've refused it because they don't want that, sadly.
Overwhelmingly, there are some that do, but overwhelmingly the leadership does not, and even many people don't what they want. And this goes back to what we were saying before about some of our friends maybe not understanding what free Palestine means in the current political context. It doesn't mean a free Palestine. It means no Israel. They want to destroy the Jewish state. That's what they want.
Yes. So this is, I think, I want to give benefit of doubt that a lot of people, especially Jews, I know, do not understand this, that they are like free Palestine, but this is not going to free Palestine. You may want, a Palestinian state, which I do too, as long as it's, there's some reluctance because it's going to be a launching pad for terrorism, which is what happened after.
Just some reluctance. Look, we're not utterly stupid. We did, we did withdraw from Gaza in 2005, and we see what happened. We don't want that. It has to be done in a way that
Right, where you accept Israel.
absolutely.
And, I used to be like, as I was seeped in left, like, oh, part of it's Israel's part of it's the Palestinians. I wanted to be very even handed, trying to make sure I was. But now it's so crystal clear. This whole thing conflict would end now. It would have ended 70 some odd years ago. It would have ended any time since then. Mm-hmm. If those Palestinians, and including countries all around it and other groups, if they said, Israel, you can exist as a Jewish state and we'll build our own civilizations, we'll build our own. If they just accepted Israel, the whole thing would be done. It's actually as simple as that. No, it is as simple as that. And the reason it because it explains everything. Everything is explained. And that doesn't mean Israel hasn't done very aggravating things, and it still does. But that's the essential part of this conflict. And if you don't I was fooled listening to same people like, it's this and this and this. If they just accepted Israel and stopped trying to destroy it, it all would end. There would be peace. And Israel's trying to take over. Yeah, really? Really? That country of 10 million, like with very few. Oh, come the freak on. You have other countries all around it who have dominant desires to dominate all around. And like you are just in this backward thing because you're comfortable targeting Jews in Israel and not comfortable with the other.
I want to highlight something you just said because I think it goes to the heart of a lot of, what constitutes so-called criticism of Israel. And again, that's another funny thing too about criticism, because criticism is typically not you should be destroyed or cease to exist. Yeah, I think you should die miserably. Well, that's terrible. Can't you take the criticism?
I know. It's criticism. Like, I'm just criticizing.
Like, this whole craziness about Jews taking over is really, again, just built on this operating system of about 3,000 years of this conspiracy that Jews run everything. Again, yeah, running their country, which is a tiny little country that's beautiful, but in the scope of all world, the scope of the very, very, a small little piece that can't control anything outside of its borders at all. It's tiny. This idea that Jews want to take over, again, if we're colonizers, we're really shit colonizers. We're the shittiest of shitty colonizers.
I know, to get like 0.2% of the world, that's really bad.
No resources. We don't have oil. We don't have any of the stuff you'd really want. It's like, why can't we?
No resources, yeah.
Yeah. If we had like a little New Jersey, like where gutter is, that'd be great. We'd just be like, getting all the shekels. No, Israel doesn't have that. Israel has smart people, and they have and their beauty and all the things that are wonderful.
And built a lot.
And it's all stuff.
And have creative industries.
Absolutely. But built with their own effort. But this idea of taking over, again, it's an anti-Semitic fever dream. If you don't understand that, research more about anti-Semitic fever dreams.
Right. And, people deny anti-Semitism, and I think there's going on, this thing, they're rich and powerful, whatever. And I think we all know that in America and throughout the world, like the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow, this just doesn't disappear.
Well,
With those echoes of that, of course, continue, and we all accept that.
make the comparison.
And that, as opposed to, like, yes, of course, through like the Jewish hatred and anti-Semitism that has existed for thousands of years, we're supposed to buy, just disappears. No, you can't have both.
Well, I mean,
if the principle exists, the principle exists.
Well, the idea we understand that the legacy of slavery, for example, reverberates. 40 years of slavery doesn't disappear in 20 years. But again, once you understand that, it becomes quite absurd to think, 3,000 years disappears. And also, just on the point of the money thing, again, Jews like Malaysians, like other people, or Chinese, the Chinese in Malaysia, you can be economically wealthy. The Jews in Germany are economically wealthy. That doesn't insulate you from hate.
No, not if we're the biggest target of hate crime, certainly of religious groups, and often here in New York, of everyone. You cannot say we're not like, well, you're not economically oppressed. I didn't say that. We targeted and hated and violently targeted. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's undeniable. Exactly. Although there is a lot of denial.
No. Well, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. The people that deny it are engaging in, at the very best, something that is, specious. But again, and we wouldn't say this, nor should we say this about, let's say, Nigerians who are wealthier on average than white Americans. Well, they can't experience racism. Of course they can.
Right.
Of course both things can be simultaneously true. We don't have this, simplistic idea that, well, you have money, so you can't be rich. Again, to all my Black friends out there, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is bullshit. Having money doesn't insulate you, doesn't mean that you can't be hated for your
right. And there's just different rules for Jews that I've noticed for excuse making. Even other Jews do it. Yeah, but we are rich, or they're a Jewish landlord, or like just like things that if you said it about another group, you'd just be a racist. But we don't for ourselves. This is what it's like we as progressive Jews apply all the benefits of the doubt and understanding and of others, which are good to do, which is good to do. It's a good to do, but cannot do it for ourselves.
Well,
and my big message to progressive Jews, it's
pure. This is. I'm going to let everyone know this is everything.
Yeah. This is my lesson. Do unto ourselves what we do unto others. We need the golden rule in reverse because too many of us are incapable of doing that. And, do unto ourselves as we do unto others. Because there's a thing regarding, I have conversations with people, and when I try to explain something's anti-Semitic or something's like hateful to Jews, I can never, some sort of thing, Jews deserve this because they get involved with, I don't know, school boards, or the Jews do this. And I'm like, I can never explain. There is a block when it comes to, and I'm speaking about this on the progressive side because that's what I'm around mostly, but there's just a block seeing racism attitudes that it comes to Jews, or we are the exception to it. Things that we would not do to other minorities that we would like, oh, it's fair game with Jews. And the amount of time, whenever I try to explain it, like if you said that about Asian people, or made some like, oh, here's some bad apples and I'm going to extrapolate it to everyone, that would be racist. No one would want to hear this. But it's often done with Jews. And every time I try to explain it, I can't even explain it like, don't do that to Jews. I have to use an analogy to another minority group that they actually are sympathetic with.
That's
It's like freaking anti-Semitism for dummies that I have to do all the time, and I still don't think it's understood because there's such a block.
well, that's the crucial component. At an analytical level, you can't just say, for example, okay, and we heard this literally, you and I heard this literally about discrimination against the Lubavitcher community, but they do bad things, we were told. So this was to explain and excuse, at least in part, the bad treatment they were getting, the assaults they were receiving, because they do bad things. Now, again, typically you just say, well, can't you hear yourself? Can't you hear yourself? You're just generalizing for all, like the Lubavitcher community is some kind of monolith that does bad things, or that you could find some bad people who did some bad things within the Lubavitcher community, and this would justify it. That shouldn't even be a discussion, but it is literally every time where you have to say, well, if this were the African American community, would you say this? If this were the Asian community, would you say this?
Right, and you can point to something in any group. Of course, you can.
But no, it's not that you can. It's that you must. They won't get it for Jews because Jews aren't. They can't see it on its own terms.
No.
If you said to me, well, this priest is terrible. Why? Because so many priests molested kids. Like, you can't generalize. I don't need to go to some other case. I can see it in that case.
Right, or condemn all Catholics from that.
Or condemn all exactly, all believers
who support that. Yeah,
who support the church. You're supporting a rape culture.
Right, which I would never do.
No.
I would never do.
We actually had to do this with one of our friends who was on the left, and we did have to do that. We literally had to say, well, what about could you generalize about the Catholic Church and their scandal? And then he was able to. Then it opened up his brain. It's weird because he couldn't see it for Jews. It really, it's that we need to use the analogies. The Jews can't be the case.
No, because we're not sympathized with. And I'm almost scared to say, well, why is that? Because I know what's going to come after. If they were really truthful, it's power, it's money, it's your white.
None of it's and we all know that all of it's bullshit. All of it is bullshit because Jews had been discriminated against when they were poor. They were discriminated against because they weren't white. So none of the reasons.
I know.
It's not. None of those are the answer. Jews are the white. We're white when being white is being stigmatized. We're not white to the white supremacists.
Yeah, right. It's this simplicity, and it's not that I've not had some privilege for seeming white. Here comes Tote Bag Whitney. In me, but when people are just this simplistic binary of race and oppression, so much flows out of that fountain, and I'm sorry, but Jews just defy it. It's like, yeah, I'm white, except to white supremacists, and suddenly I'm not white at all. And other than your white Europeans, other than my father, if he were in Europe, would have been killed for not being a white European.
Half my family that did stay in Europe, they're dead.
Yeah.
And that's not because they were white or seen as white.
Right. And that's part of why,
it's an inversion. It's not that Jews are hated and then the excuses come. Before the excuse. Everything else that ad hoc. Well, it's because you're rich. Okay, well, what about other rich people that you do some? Well, it's because you're white. What about? Well, other groups don't. Well, what about when we're not white? What about the Jews that aren't white? What about the ones that have been treated as not white? Well, rich. What about the poor Jews? They were also being discriminated against and chased all over and chased and discriminated against and murdered. None of that adds up. And again, it goes back to the big question. Why would you try to explain it away? What's your motive there?
Yeah, like what in the hell?
You're rather invested in trying to come up with really far-fetched explanations to what just seems like naked hate. Oh, okay, Jewish people are being hit in the head with machetes. Okay, that's terrible. Well, what are they doing? What are they up to? They do bad things.
This is almost bringing it all home because I think ISPCA is calling me. It's a dog and cat organization. It's not the, I don't think it's a dog and cat. Maybe it's a Jewish arm of ASPCA. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of times is I've got.
Let's get back to what I think the important part is, which is what we need to do to kind of maybe correct ourselves so we don't feed into this is basically just modify the golden rule a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Said, golden rule: do unto others, or do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, which Jews are pretty good at. We should just reverse it. We should do unto ourselves as we do unto others.
Right. And I exactly, every progressive Jew that I know or live, I'm sorry, needs that lesson so badly. They will go overboard. And I mean, it's a good feeling, a good instinct for other minorities, but not for for ourselves will get the worst assessment in the world and not give like even an ounce of the same understanding of forgiveness.
Right. No. It's right, and it goes back to Hillel. It's basically Hillel saw this. What Rabbi Hillel saw this over 2,000 years ago, which is again, it's if you're only for yourself, what are you? So we should care about other people. But if you're not for yourself, who will be?
Exactly. It's an incredible quote. And it's so, I mean, because especially on the left side, there's a very much like a value really of like, if you're minority, especially, your identity, we really understand. We're going to defer to your identity. And it's extraordinary because that's the Jewish exception to that. We're actually going to get in your face and tell you what's what about what anti-Semitism is and what it's not. And
an Irish voice.
In an Irish voice or any voice in all accents you can even imagine under the face of the planet.
Everyone else is.
And we are not given that deference and we're not given that sensitivity. And it's very noticeable. And something else, and this is a whole other. I used to get when people would, especially get on, I mean, Israel, this isn't new. This is like forever, like Israel. And I would feel, because I was seeped in left culture and hearing left voices, and there's something shameful about it. And it's like, oh God, they care about human rights. The ones that are lecturing me are upset. And the strength I have internally, the fortitude I have, because these people, human rights people, I mean, and we've talked about that before, are so full of it. They are not for human rights. If you were for human rights, you'd be talking about Iran. You'd be talking about like you cannot do it. When you can only do it when it's imposed on by your white people as you define white. And those have to be the oppressors. And if so often it doesn't, not that case hasn't been the case throughout history that white people have oppressed darker people, absolutely, horribly, tragically. But the simplicity of like this paradigm that you impose on the world is so false. It's so ignorant. It's shocking. The most educated people do it. And, just like we were talking about, if you cannot call out jihadism and the horror it does To brown and black people, you are no human rights person. You are on a foundation of sand. And it's a bunch of crap. You're not motivated by women's rights. You're not motivated by gay rights. You're not motivated by human rights. You're motivated. You're something else. You have a philosophy that's something else, but it's certainly not that.
It's an NPC philosophy. It's something reflexive. And by sand, they're basing their ideas on sand. If sand is the equivalent to bullshit, again,
Yeah.
It's weird that you have to do all the throat clearing. Yes, there's there was European colonialism, and there's the remnants of it, and terrible. There's also,
of course,
and also
of
the
course.
current, and also Arab colonialism and Muslim colonialism, which still exists and is still active today, but is being ignored studiously by these same people. Many of whom, again, they can be excused to a degree because it's pure ignorance.
Right. And then you look at their information sources. It's like, well, why are they not reporting on that? There's a discomfort with that narrative because they want to cling to a simplistic binary of like, oh, it's white oppressors, non-white oppressed, and it's so dumb.
Well, they want to stick to it, and again, they have a dumb binary, but then they also apply the binary in dumb ways.
In dumb ways, yes, where it doesn't even exist. No, they have this binary and then they impose it on things that aren't even, that binary doesn't even apply to.
Yeah, I mean, for example, more than half of Israeli Jews aren't white by any definition. They are
right.
Middle Eastern Levantine people that don't have any European.
Right. And even Ashkenazi Jews, if you're genetically so, because Jews can be not genetically Jew. I mean, they're just as Jewish if they convert or they, whatever.
Well, Ashkenazi, we're talking about ethnicity. Ashkenazi Jews, again, yeah, of course, we look more white. We're definitely white passing, but most of us, I am. Hilary, maybe.
Like, I read an article, it's like, oh, someone got attacked and they were visibly Jewish, and that usually means they were wearing garb, Orthodox garb. But I feel like the report would say the same about me. It's like, she was visibly Jewish. Like, was she wearing? Was it a skirt? No, she was just visibly Jewish.
Visibly Jewish.
No, I know. Like, because genetically, they have researched it. Even Ashkenazi Jews have lineage to the Middle East.
Yes.
Right. And you know what? Clearly, because how else did I get this luxurious, thick hair? This is like not Poland, people. This doesn't just happen.
It doesn't happen. Yeah, exactly. Being driven out of a land doesn't mean you lose ethnicity.
Right. And then there was mixing, and some of it, maybe a large part from rape by Cossacks, which gave me light eyes. So don't get me wrong, I'm grateful.
Grateful for it. Yeah. Of course. That's just one way to apply it. But again, when it's the Janjaweed militia, attacking, black Sudanese, there's none of that. It's not even applied.
No, it's not. It's not.
Just don't give a damn.
Because, and a lot of people have pointed this out, but the only thing that makes sense, you have to make sense of their philosophy when they're not applying human rights and women's rights and gay rights, when they're really not, what is it? And there is, I think, an underlying philosophy that many of those people have, and it's simply anti-America, anti-Western. It's the only thing that makes sense. It does make sense. That's the North Star.
Yeah.
Where they've taken everything like, the rah-rah America thing, which was always like BS, like, covering up all of our sins, and not talking about it. And they've corrected that like boo-boo America, everything about us sucks, and we're the horrors of the world, when we've done a lot of horrible things, but dear God, I'm sorry, compared to the powers on the ascendancy, I'm going back to Rah Rah America. Because it's so terrifying. Actually, believe it or not, as awful as we are, do you know how much worse?
Right. The hegemonic powers that could replace, that are likely to replace us, are basically some version of radical Islam and or some version of an ascendant People's Republic of China. Neither of which would be all that woman friendly, gay friendly, human rights friendly, or anything that any of us in America would ever.
Okay, but what about environmentalism? Surely.
Oh, none of that. None of that bullshit either.
Oh my God. I
That.
know.
No,
I know.
It's also looking backward compared to what hegemonic power. I mean, those horrible white Mongols.
Yeah.
They were marvelous.
Yeah. And this is like the philosophy I think they like people talk about, like this is what a lot of people in the uh humanities in college absorb now. It's like that basically white, Western, oppressive, not white, oppressed, not Western. And it's so dumb. I mean, it's like the movie Idiocracy, and we knew was coming. I just didn't know it would hit the most educated this badly.
I think it has.
I mean, it's like, this is so dumb. I'm like, well, what do they do the rest of the 4 years if that's all they learn?
Well, I think Thomas Sowell puts it that way too. It's like, it is the smartest people because, again, defying common sense and what's in front of you takes a lot of brain power.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually in some weird way it does require these theoretical leaps to not see the obvious. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, how can I okay, you have this Western kind of democratic system that supports all the things I seem to care about, like women's rights, right to speak, gay rights, all these things. That's the source of it. And I'm going to throw that all away for this other thing where they would literally start killing me. And I'm going to have this ability to pretend that I'm actually under fascistic danger when I can get up in any public place and call my government fascist and nothing bad happens to me. If you were actually in Nazi Germany and said it was fascist, they would have killed you. And now you could go up in, the Golden Globes and call us fascists, and, you get cheered. No, we're not fascist. But it takes a certain level. Yeah, it has hit the anointed much harder. It has hit the educated.
And now who knows how many people really, buy into this crap, or this is just stuff they have to say to get their progressive wings.
It's a little bit of both, but then you understand that it's like what Nietzsche says: beware the mask you wear because it will become your face. And that's the whole idea that is, that we tend to actually conform our beliefs to what we pretend to believe after a while because we want to get rid of cognitive dissonance. So I tend to think, at least initially, I mean, I know when I was in college, I knew I had to pretend to believe things I didn't believe because I wanted to get good grades, and it worked.
And I have to pretend sometimes to nod along with things I don't believe because I don't want to get kicked out of the party.
I actually do want to get kicked out.
Times I can't help myself. It's like, don't say anything, and then it starts coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. Like you were what was that thing you were saying? You were like doing that Whitney thing, like if you're like in a party in Williamsburg, and Wanda, which is the part of you.
Yeah. I know I have to reiterate this, which is like because I grew up in DC, the most democratic city in America, and then I in New York. So I have like that tote bag NPR woman in me. And the problem is I have another woman in me who hates her. And so I have names for these two people. There's tote bag Whitney, and there's straight talking Wanda. And then when I'm in, Whitney sometimes has to take over because like we're going to be in a social situation in Brooklyn. And Whitney's just like, Wanda, shut up. because they're going to think you sound like Ted Kaczynski. So let me take over, and I'm going to be nodding to things as if I agree with them so people will like us. And even Wanda's like, I got it. Just take over. Just do what you got to do. Whitney, tote bag Whitney.
Back with it, yeah.
These are the two women inside of me, Whitney and Wanda. And Wanda's really taking over, as you can see. This is like, I had to have this place. This is why we're doing it. Wanda had to go somewhere. Wanda has to speak.
Right. The voice of Wanda.
Yeah. Oh, God, there's so much more to say.
Right now, we're, despite everything, we've remained moderately sane, and we'll be back.
You'll call us right wing fascists, but we know we're moderately sane.
We're moderately sane. Okay. And we're trying to keep it together. Okay. Look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. Bye bye.